Hi everyone and welcome to my channel and to this time-lapse version of a tiny little study, one of many that I'm working on this month, trying to show how to create small details in soft pastel and also getting in a little bit of landscape practice myself. I hope that you enjoy seeing the time-lapse version here. There will be a full demo from this over on my Patreon channel. But do make sure that you have a look through the rest of my playlists here on YouTube, where I have lots and lots of free videos to get you started in soft pastel. And then if you like what you see here, please do subscribe. So for this piece, I'm working on the sienna colour of Pastel Matte, and this is just 8 by 10 inches in size, so it's pretty tiny. And I wanted to have a go at, well, some more landscape practice, as I've been working a lot on that recently. And I'm really trying to work on my blocking in skills. Like you can see here, I'm trying to get most of the paper covered in one go. Then I give everything a slight blend into the paper. And this then acts kind of like an underpainting for me. So this is a different way to how I normally work, but recently I've been experimenting lots with these little landscapes. And then this month on Patreon, I was demoing a lot of tiny things. So when you're asked to paint an animal within a scene, sometimes that animal works out pretty small and you can't put a lot of detail into their face, for example. It can become very tricky to capture a likeness. So this month I've been experimenting with my own dog a little bit. This is little Lola on one of our favourite walks. And I've been experimenting with some photos that I took on our walks just to see how small I can go and still capture the dog within the scene. So I've done one already, which is already out as a demo on my Patreon channel on velour paper. This time I decided to use Pastel Matte. Pastel Matte is great for smaller details, and I thought because of how tiny the dog works out in this painting that it might be interesting to see how Pastel Matte deals with that. But what I forgot, which I've experienced before when trying to paint a landscape on Pastel Matte, is that it's quite a smooth surface. It doesn't give you a lot of texture to play with, and I found it difficult to create the background trees because the paper was very smooth in texture and I couldn't really get the effect I was going for in the background. But I do try to work the image more as a whole, working the image overall rather than staying in one place for too long. So I start to bring in some of the light and colours that I can see in the foreground. And I really enjoy working in this way instead of building the image up piece by piece like I normally do, as it gets a lot done in a very short amount of time. In a very short amount of time, you can start to see the whole scene and the lighting really come together. So the work on the dog, there wasn't really a lot of detail that I could add on this scale. You can see from the size of my hand and the small amount of pastel pencil that I bring in, just how tiny the little dog is. And I think I kind of made her head a little bit too big. Her head got a little bit bigger in the painting process, which is easily done at this scale. So not an exact likeness to her. I was just happy enough to be able to get it to look like a dog. So this scale with a tiny dog within the landscape is tricky in soft pastel. It's tricky to get the likeness. You don't really have a lot of space for detail. So if I were doing a portrait commission, this would not really be a size that I would offer. But for a little study, something that is more to do with the light and the shade and the mood of the piece and the atmosphere of the place, that's really what I'm interested in trying to capture in these smaller studies. And at the same time, I'm experimenting with different colour choices, picking up colours that I don't always pick up, So trying to push my colour choices further to describe the light and shade, and at the same time experimenting on different papers. I'm still trying to figure out landscapes. I still haven't found the recipe that I really enjoy. So that's something that I'm working on at the minute with these little demos. And I hope that I can share lots of tips as I go along, but also share some of the things that go wrong for me in these experiments. With a lot of my tutorials on Patreon, when I'm teaching how to paint animals, for example, I've done it for so many years. I feel really confident working on an animal portrait. There are certain things that I'm really experienced at and I can slip into my comfort zone, but this is not one of them. So I'm feeling like I'm on a learning curve with this, but I'm also enjoying sharing that learning curve with my patrons, because quite often you will see me work on something that I don't make mistakes because I know what I'm doing from beginning to end. Whereas in these little demos, I'm talking a lot about where things have gone wrong, what I might need to do next time. And for me, that's actually a great learning experience as well, because sometimes when I reach the end of one of these paintings, I'm not very happy with it. But when I look back at the footage and I see it come together, I start to understand better where it went wrong, what I can do next time. So I hope that I can take you along with me on that learning path and share all the ups and downs as I go. And if you're interested in all of these extra full-length demos, then please do visit me over on Patreon. You can check out my full library of tutorials that I have available in my website, Tutorials Library. But again, if you've enjoyed this here on YouTube, I would really appreciate your support here on my channel. Please do check out some of my other content here on YouTube and hit that subscribe button if you enjoy it. But thanks very much for watching this here, and until next time, happy pasteling.